Hello everyone, welcome back to Journey with Data, and I'm back with another video on Python Pandas. Well, this is an extension to my previous video, which was basically an introduction to the library, and there I talked about how the library has made our lives as data analysts or as data scientists simpler, because the first step towards any model building project is to clean the data, to analyze it, and this library of course does the job quite well. So it's very important to get the hang of this library, and the basics were already covered in the previous video, thus I'm recommending you to go through that first and then maybe come back to this one. Here I will be exploring some additional parameters, for example how to apply a group by, how to set an index, how to explore some additional parameters while reading a file, and so on. So let's begin. So let's begin. So as a first step, I will be importing the libraries and loading the data set. So here I've imported the NumPy library and the Pandas library, and I have used some additional options. For example, I've used the set option to change to set a precision. I'm setting it to 2 decimal places, and to display the max rows to 25. This will set the max rows in the output to 25. And the next important thing is I am changing the directory, because I don't want the directory to be read again and again whenever I am reading a file. So I'm changing it to this. Now you can also check this using the chdir command. You can also check whether this has been reflected or not using the pwd. So as you can see, this command fetches the present working directory. Just go ahead and run it. The shortcut to run it in Jupyter, as in to run the current cell in Jupyter, is to press a shift enter. So if you can see that the pwd command basically will tell you that this is the current working directory. Now let's read our data. So now before reading it, let me tell you something about my data set. So this is a COVID-19 data set, and it's in a CSV format. So that's why I am using a pd.read CSV. PD is of course an alias for the Pandas library that I had mentioned earlier. So pd.read_CSV, because that's a CSV extension. If you have an Excel file, you can simply go ahead and use it in this manner, pd.readExcel, and of course the Excel extension .xlsx. So similar is the case for other file formats as well, and I'm passing the dates. I'm setting it to true because I want the dates to be parsed. Okay, so let me run this, and I'm using the df.head command to display the first 5 rows. So this will tell you that my data set has been read, and it has a so and so columns. Now if you want to get the column names, but then you don't, if you just are interested in getting the column names, not interested in the data, so what you can do is you can run this command df.columns. So this will give you a list of the columns. Now let's say if I want to change any of the column, so one of the method is, what I can do is I can of course pull out a list of these columns. So df.columns is equal to this, and let's say if you want to change the serial number to, let's say, NO, just run this. So what I did was I pulled out a list of all the column names, and I changed the column name to whatever I want to set it to. Now just check if this has been reflected or not. df.columns. Now you can see that serial number has been changed to number. I simply replaced the column name with the one that I want to, and then of course I'm using the entire list of the column names. Now let's explore the data type. What's the data type of my columns? Using the df.dtypes. The reason I'm using df is because while reading a file, I had created a variable named df, if you can see it here. That's why I'm using df. So instead of df, you can give any name that you want to, any name as in the name that you have provided while reading a file. So df.dtypes will give you the data type associated with each column, this will tell you that observation date is an object. This is not a date here. And last update date is also an object. And the confirmed column is a float, and so on. So this will give you the data type. Now let's read the similar data set with some additional parameters. So that this was one way to read a file. The other way is by providing some more parameters to the read CSV module. Now, again, I'm reading a COVID-19 data set. I'm parsing the dates, but then here in this case, I don't have the dates. So if you have, you can provide the dates here. And if you have any values, the null values, so they will be replaced by -200, or let's say they will be replaced by 10, for example. Now, and instead of using all the columns now, as you've already seen here, that I had so many columns. Now, instead of using all the columns, now I am interested in some specific columns. So I will use the columns. I will read only those columns beforehand. Now, here I am using a use calls parameter and using the columns that I am interested in. So observation date, state, province, country, region, confirmed, and recovered, instead of using all the columns. Now, I can also rename the columns here only. So I'm using .rename columns is equal to the column that I want to rename. Here I am renaming observation date to date, province, state to market. This is just for demo purposes, country, region to region, and I am setting an index on date column now. Now remember, the date column is nothing but an observation date which has been renamed to date. So ultimately I am setting an index on the date column. So I have used 2-3 parameters with this read CSV module. In order to explore the more parameters associated with the read CSV module, what you can do is simply type in read_CSV and go to the pandas.py data.org. So this will basically give you the list of all the parameters associated with the read_CSV. And one thing to notice here is there is a parameter called as align terminator, which has been set to none. But then if you have a file which is separated by commas or which is terminated by semicolon, then you will have to provide it here. And the quote characters, if your quote is enclosed in double quotes, true, and so on. So delimit white space, false. So there are n number of parameters available depending on which one to use. For example, if you notice here, parse date equals to false, and so on. So yeah, these were the parameters associated with this. Back to our analysis, we've already created a data frame which is df. Now if you look into the head command that I already told you, the head command, so this will give you the first 5 rows starting from 0th index to the 4th index, the first 5 rows, and only the columns that I have taken here. Now because I have not run this, so let me run this cell, and now if you look at it, you will see that the columns like market, region, confirmed, and recovered in the dot rename section, they have been created. Now here I have created an index on the date column, which is why you can see it like this. So this is an index on the date column. If you wish to reset it, you can use a reset_index and in place equals to true. So I'll run this, and now if you see that the index has been reset. So these were some simple tricks. So now we have an idea on how to create a data frame, how to set an index, how to reset an index, and so on. So let's move ahead and try to fetch the rows and columns and perhaps their combination. But before that, you should know that the rows and columns, they are collectively known as accesses, and a value with access equals to 0 refers to rows, and a value with access equals to 1 refers to columns. So whenever and wherever you encounter this property being set, now you should know that 0 value means to rows and 1 means to columns. And each value of an index is a label. And this can be split across row labels and column labels. And based on that, where there are various, there are various options on how to fetch the rows and columns. Now, but before that, let's explore our data frame using the head command. Now there are columns like region, date and market. Now let's say if I want to, let's say I don't want my data frame to be selected in this manner. I don't want the entire data frame to be fetched. I am interested in only the region column, for example. So which means I want all rows and only one column. Here in this case, this is the region column that I'm interested in. So what do? There are various options to do that. The very first and the obvious thing that we will do is, and we have also covered this in our last video, that we can select any column using the square bracket or using the dot operator. So either you can simply select df region, which will give you the region column, or you can use the dot operator. This will also give you the same thing. Or there's third thing, which is df dot loc, loc, and square bracket. Here you should know that inside the square bracket, this is the rows, columns. So whenever I am writing df dot loc colon means I am selecting all the rows and only the specified column. Now let me run this. So this is going to give me all the rows then along with the indexes and only one column. So this has given me the values of the region column. And now what's this loc command? So there is another alternative to loc as well, which is iloc. So loc is basically label based. So you have to specify rows and columns based on their labels. For example, I have specified the row label, which is the column label, which is region in this case. So loc is label based and iloc is indexed based. So whenever I will try to fetch any rows and columns using iloc, I will use an index instead of the name, direct name. So this is one such method where I'm selecting all rows in one column. Now next is, how do I select multiple columns? So this way, the square bracket way was already discussed, where if I have to select region and market, I'll simply put them in double square brackets. This is one such way. And another way could be using the loc command, where if I have to select multiple columns, so what I'll do is, now you know that this will refer to rows, all rows, and multiple columns. So I'll specify the names because loc is label based. So I'm specifying the labels here, the column labels. So I want region and market, and that's it. I'll close the square bracket. So this is gonna give me all rows and region and market column. Now let me run this. If you see, this has given me all the rows in the data frame with region and market column. This is one such way. Now if I modify this command to, let's say I'm using df.loc, here I'm selecting 1 and then I'm selecting region and market column. So this is gonna give me first row. If you see, this is gonna give me only one row, where you can see that the region and market have been selected and only one row is being selected, not all. Instead of the colon command where I had selected the entire row set, I am selecting only one row now, this one, beijing. Now if you want to see which index does this value belong to, what you can do is simply the best way, or the simplest way, is using the head command, because I'm selecting only one row. And let's say this df.bj, this is in the first index, iloc 1, this is in the first index. So now we've discussed the loc command. Let's go ahead and discuss the iloc as well. This also remains the same, but instead of providing the column or the row labels, I will provide the indexes. So here df.iloc : 0, which means I am selecting all rows in the column at the 0th index, which is region in this case, if you see here. So this will fetch me the region column. All rows corresponding to this. So this is one such command. Next is, let's explore some variations of the iloc, where I am simply selecting all rows and columns from 0th index to the 3rd index. And now, as you already know, that the 3rd index will not be fetched. This will fetch the rows from 0, 1 and 2. So the last indexes are ignored. So let's see how does this behave. 0, 1 and 2. Okay, so 0 till 3 and all the rows. So this has selected multiple columns and all the rows. So remember that in a loc, instead of providing the index values, we provided the labels. And another variation could be iloc 3, df.iloc 3, which will be the 3rd index, the value at the 3rd index. Okay, so this is giving me region is this, date is this, market is this, the column at the 3rd index. If you notice, the column at the 3rd index is this, the market. So this verifies that the column at the value at the 3rd index has been selected. Now if I select df.iloc : 3, now what do you think this will give me? Of course, yes, this will give me the rows starting from 0, 1 and 2, because I am not providing any column. See, the difference is I am not separating them with comma and providing columns. I am just saying select the rows up till the 3rd index. So this is, if I had done it in this manner, this would have selected the entire data frame, but I'm not doing so. I am selecting the rows up till the 3rd index, which is 0, 1 and 2, and the last will be ignored, so thus 0, 1 and 2. So this is how iloc behaves. And other than the loc and iloc command, you can simply select the values from the data frame itself using the indexes, because whenever you run your data frame, you might have noticed an index along with it. So now if instead of providing the iloc and the loc commands, if I, let's say, go ahead and run this df:10, df10:15, so this will give me rows from 10 to 14, of course, same as that we discussed just now. Okay, and similar is the case df:15:, so this will give me the rows from the 15th column until whatever is the last value in your data frame. So this is another way on how to fetch the rows and columns in the data frame. So you can use any variation according to your choice. You can select a subset from a data frame. For example, here I am trying to fetch the region column. Let's say if I run this, the region column and then :3, so this will give me the first 3 rows of the region column, because I'm explicitly specifying that I need the region column and the first 3 rows. Similarly here 0 to 3, so this and this, the first command and this command, both are same. If you notice the difference, if I'll run this 0, 1 and 2. Whether you provide the 0 or not, it does not make a difference. Now let's go ahead and try another variation. So I'm providing df region and then -1 and then colon. Now when I'm selecting -1 and then colon, of course this is gonna fetch the rows only, but then -1 here means that the last element shall be fetched. So why -1? Because you need to remember that the indexes, they can be read in a forward manner and in a backward manner as well. So in a forward manner, we can read it from 0, 1, 2 and end of the list, and in a backward manner from -1, -2 till probably the start of the list. So these are the two ways. So when I'm providing -1, this means that I'm trying to access the last element till end of the list, which does not make sense. Last of the list is nothing but the element itself. So this will give me the last element in the list. So if I provide -2 here, this will give me the last 2 elements, which means -2 till the last element. So -1 and -2. So Ukraine was the -1 element, because -2, -1, so this is being read in this manner. Now if I, let's say, provide -5, so what do you expect the output to be? So this will be -5, -4, -3, -2, -1 and so on. So these were the ways on how to access the rows and columns. So I hope that this must have given you an idea on how to create a data frame, how to access the rows and columns based on the loc command, iloc command and the index values as well. So if that's a yes and you've watched this video, so I would want you to type in your comments in the box below on what do you expect the output for these two points to be. So when you type in the command df.iloc :2 and df.iloc then 0, 10 and then colon, what do you expect the output to be? Please type in your output in the comment box below. So stay tuned for more such videos, and in the upcoming video of Pandas extension, I will be discussing the group by command and the pivot table command. So yes, stay tuned for more updates from this channel. Do subscribe if you've liked this video, or if you've liked any of my past videos and you found this to be some sort of help to you. Yeah. Thank you so much.